Breaker, which came out in 1995, which is the longest break in their history, 5 years, as opposed to 3 years, which happened previously between Who Made Who and, Blow Up Your Video, I'm sorry, and The Razor's Edge. Anyway, Ball Breaker sees the return of Phil Rudd. I forgot to mention that after Blow Up Your Video, Simon Wright was replaced with Chris Slade, who previously was in Manfred Mann's Earth Band and Uriah Heep and The Firm, which kind of tanked. Interesting record. But anyway, Ball Breaker came back, and to be honest with you, I'm kind of unimpressed. The record's not bad, typical AC/DC. The songs are good, pretty solid. The guitar sound is good, a little bit different than Razor's Edge, kind of going back to a less produced sound. But the drum, there is something with the drum, even though it's Phil Rudd, but the drum is not strong enough, not open enough, not powerful enough. And I think that the bass is also went a little bit lower in the mix than normal, than usual. Nevertheless, they managed to bang out quite a good number of good songs, and the album is enjoyable. But again, this is the stage in the life of a band where you ask yourself, why not just retire and do what everybody else does? Compilations, live albums, special editions, non-album singles, what have you, which actually 95 was a little bit still early for that one, for non-album singles that came back later on in the digital age. But not bad by any means, but not stellar, not outstanding. So besides for the excitement that, hey, we haven't heard from them in 5 years, this album to me is not super impressive. And then again, they go to sleep for about 5 years, tour and so on, and come back in 2000 with Stiff Upper Lip, which in all honesty is not all that different. Stiff Upper Lip improved the drum sound by a lot, as well as the bass to some extent, but to me it sounds very similar. Again, like I said, it's kind of comic with the AC/DC, but here there are some better, more memorable songs a little bit. You got House of Jazz, you got Safe in New York City. That one didn't age well. All Screwed Up is a very cool open intro and a guitar solo in there. House of Jazz, like I said, is not bad. Hold Me Back. The opening song, Stiff Upper Lip, is pretty good. So a definite improvement over Ball Breaker, but not gigantic. It's not like it's twice as good or anything. And after another good and long break, 8 years this time, they come back with Black Ice, which in my opinion is definitely the best of the three. Again, very similar vibe, kind of, I don't want to say flat, but kind of predictable idea to the whole of it. The sound, again, trying to be a little bit retro, but well produced, pretty good amplitude, good sound, overall space, if you will. Good songs. They're still banging it out, but again, nothing super special, nothing super exciting. Just another record that you can put on, rock out to, and then put it back and forget about it for quite a while. Nonetheless, a good addition to the collection. What are some good songs? War Machine is pretty. Wheels is very good. She likes rock and roll. The Rock and Roll Train is kind of the the opening song. Not kind of. It is the opening song. The title song's not bad. Decibel is a good one. So not a huge improvement, but all in all, we see that since Ball Breaker, it's difficult to top Razor's Edge, but from Ball Breaker and on, Ball Breaker was a little bit uninspiring, and then Stiff Upper Lip got a little bit better, and this one is another step in the right direction. Let's go back to our friends Kiss and let's be charitable to them. And from the heights of Revenge, which was really very, very good and kind of made up for Crazy Nights and Hot in the Shade, especially Crazy Nights, in a big way. Obviously, you can't go back to the future, the past, and erase it, but Revenge was kind of left us off with a good taste in our mouth. So they come up with Alive 3, which, as you can imagine, is pretty predictable. Another Kiss live album with their biggest hits and pretty good live sound, as much as we can believe that it is actually live. And just pretty much what you would expect. Good sound, good songs. They just bang it out pretty well, and this is kind of a live introduction of Kulik and Zinger for the live for the older audiences. So to showcase how they sound, and of course Zinger is a big difference. Zinger here made a lot of his own drum fills and so on. So he definitely came into his own and matching the songs well. So from that perspective, it's a good album to have. And now, as you can imagine, a little bit of sad news, because what they did here is inexcusable at any level. It's just a pile of puke, a worthless, disgusting, repulsive pile of puke that any moron, any teenager in the mid-90s could have done. So what's even worse and more disgusting than the music itself is the spinelessness and the pandering. Like, if Dynasty was bad and if Crazy Nights was bad, this is horrible. This is like horrible in Russian. Horrible. You not can listen to this. It's just bad. It's from begin to end. It's like, if it was one of these young bands who came out in the 90s, I would say, okay, tolerable. But for Kiss, inexcusable. And I heard quite a good number of times the claim that, well, they're so good, and this just so showcases their multifaceted aspect, and they're so good, and they can adapt to any style. Okay, so they're good at kissing ass, and why is that a quality? Did they play jazz? Did they release here a Pat Metheny record or something? I mean, it's just unbelievable. You know, you tune your guitars down and you put out crap. So anyway, the less we talk about it, the better. It's a horrible record. It's a horrible record. It's something that could have been released by Chaining Youth or whatever they called Alice, Smashing Alice, or Alice's Addiction, what have you. All of that crap. So let's close the lid on this, and they did. And to their credit, they understood their mistake. They didn't admit it. Actually, Stanley, to some extent, did, and I think that Zinger was kind of ambiguous about it. He didn't want to outright spit on it. I don't know if he was afraid of getting kicked out of the band, but he didn't want to shower too much praise on it. But let it be just said that I'm happy to close the lid on it and move on. So they pretty quickly, right? So this we're talking 97, and Revenge came out in 92. So it's a five year break, right, between studio albums, and then they go right away in the studio, and they come out with Psycho Circus. And with Psycho Circus, they were able to accomplish what they should have done and what they should have figured out in the period of Dynasty. So that crazy period of Dynasty, Unmasked and The Elder, when they didn't know where to go, they should have done what they did with Psycho Circus, which in a big way is a repetition of Creatures. In other words, the ability to come out with something that's not a carbon copy of what they were doing in the beginning, but in the same vein that preserves those, let's just say, traditions or the traditional Kiss style or even Kiss sound to some extent, and yet not being completely boring and repetitive like let's just say Rock and Roll Over and Love Gun were started to become. And the songs are kind of good. I finally find my way. You Wanted the Best. Psycho Circus, the opener, was an absolute great great song. Into the Void, I Pledge Allegiance. Dreaming, kind of okay. So a very very nice record. Not amazing, not incredible, but in Kiss terms, a very very good record. A very good return to form. And like I told you, it's kind of like a Creature slash Lick It Up #2. Maybe a little less hard hitting than those, but accomplishing what it was supposed to, what it was meant to do. And then they're going to do, oh, of course, I skipped over one of their most important periods and episodes in time. After Alive 3, the big inevitable reunion did happen. And of course, now we can feel comfortable to say that, well, we all knew that it would happen someday, and we kind of did, but we also kind of knew, on the other hand, that it would never happen again. So there's that. I said previously that it would inevitably happen, but again, because we already knew that it did. So in '94, I think 5, it was announced that the reunion is going to happen, and then in '96, '97, they came out with this huge world record, and it seemed like Ace and Peter are back for good. Bad idea. The story on the circuit is that they sat down with Ace and Peter, and they told them that they're not really members of the band, that they're touring members and they're guns for hire and whatever the financials were. And of course, Peter and Ace eagerly agreed to get the money. But of course, when push come to shove, and when it came time to perform and to get what they were promised and not more, they started complaining. Right? The story is that the tour was widely successful beyond what anyone could have hoped, which I kind of take with a grain of salt, because if they didn't think that it would be super successful, I don't think they would have done it. So of course it's difficult to predict the future, but the mid '90s were already a period of very very well established marketing and the demand planning and all of that, part of the industrial part of the business. I'm not saying everyone has it down pat and that it's all 100% predictable, but today the retail industry, including the entertainment industry, does work on this. So there's very very good prediction for production, for deliveries and stocking and all of that. You see how much all of these is kind of connected to the business, to the, let's just say, the consumer end. So the entertainment, the actual entertainment, going to the concert and enjoying it, but behind of it is a very very big machine. And people are very quick to criticize the music industry, but like any other industry, it doesn't only have a dark side, right? Without the industry, we wouldn't be getting, or we wouldn't be consuming that much music and entertainment. So be it as it may, that's what happens '96, '97. And of course, the again inevitable bitter breakup and all of the drama, and Peter outright sabotaging a lot of live shows, not showing up, or showing up and messing up the drum parts, or just not playing drums. And same thing with Ace. Sometimes he was so stoned out of his mind that he couldn't perform, and they already had Tommy Thayer waiting for him there in the wings with the costume and the makeup and everything. So kind of no, I'm sure that there are a bunch of live records and all of that and compilations and whatnot, but they put it behind of them. So of course they come out with the Carnival of Pukes, and like I said, Psycho Circus. And after Psycho Circus, again, they're going to no studio recordings, of course, tons and tons of box sets and reissues and remixes and read this and read that, and Probably there was another reunion with Ace and Peter, if I'm not mistaken, during those times. But there is kind of a long period from Psycho Circus until the next studio album, which is Sonic Boom, and that one is indeed one heck of a Sonic Boom. So Sonic Boom succeeded in not only redoing what Psycho Circus did, but redoing after it wasn't really required. So in other words, Psycho Circus didn't have to be redeemed. I'm sure I know that there are people who criticize it as well, but Psycho Circus was not Carnival of Souls. It was not Crazy Nights or Hot in the Shade or Dynasty or any of that crap. So they kind of had a double difficult job. They had to top that. They had to make it not repetitive, and they succeeded very very well with Psycho Circus. So anyway, this one, Sonic Boom, even the album cover looked like super traditional, a little bit like rock and roll over, right? The opener, Modern Day Delilah, is a very good one, like a typical Stanley kind of song. Then Russian Roulette. They all really, most of the songs are very very good. The vibe, the sound of the song, that they play good. Kulik and Zinger are in top form. So really, kudos for putting out such a good album and finishing off on a high note. And I guess that the success, and I'm not talking about material success. I'm sure it did well, because Kiss always manages to make money one way or another. Even if they don't sell albums, they sell whatever else they sell. I don't know what, condoms and chocolate bars and coffins and God only knows what else. But I'm sure that they had a good return on investment. But I'm talking about success, about the true musical success of being able to put out a good product like that from begin to end. Even if there are a couple weaker songs here and there, the album overall is very strong. It looks good. The album cover looks good. The sound is very very well produced. It's produced just right, not overproduced, not overdone. They all sound good and they play good. That's one thing that you gotta give Kiss, that despite all of the drama and all of the nonsense that went around, when they went in the studio, they played fair and they played good, and they made the songs the way that they should feel right. And obviously I wasn't there, but it seems like they didn't step too much on each other's balls, and they let each other live and coexist and really write and perform and play and make music as a band. And Sonic Boom is no different. So anyway, and same thing, and now the same thing happens and repeats itself with Monster, which would be their final release in a relatively short period after time, right? Sonic Boom was 2009. This came out, Monster came out 2012, and I'm not sure it was able to top Sonic Boom, at least not in all aspects, but in some aspects it did. So it again, just like from Psycho Circus to Sonic Boom, from Sonic Boom to Monster, the same thing happened. They were able to top it, to make an album that's at least can be claimed is better. The album cover was very good. It kind of harkened back a little bit to Revenge, but also to the older, the classic records. So they were able to again do this for the third time, this time in a row, to make a record that is hard punching, that is good, that it's hard, that is contemporary without kissing ass to the current fads and fashions, and yet to be also rooted in their past. So kudos. Am I 100% convinced that Monster is unquestionably above Sonic Boom? No, but they are very very close to each other. The tone, the sound is a little bit harsher, a little bit more modern, a little bit in your face, a little bit less produced sounding, tiny bit fuzzier, not super fuzz, but a little fuzzier, a little how should I say this, a little raspier maybe. So all in all good. The opener, of course, they always make a very good openers. Kiss were always very good at that. Hello Hallelujah. You have The Devil Is Me. It's a very good one. Back to the Stone Age. Freaks, not bad. Take me down below. That's a really good one. All for the Love of Rock and Roll. So very All for the Love of Rock and Roll. It's actually Zinger singing. I think it's the only one where he sings lead, at least on an album. I might be mistaken, but and he has a pretty good voice, and he made his voice fit in very well with Stanley and Simmons, who even that is kind of a good point in Kiss, that they have different voices and many other singers, and yet there is a Kiss voice, right? Stanley's and Simmons's voices are pretty different, and I think that he does it here maybe on the opening song. Simmons, when he kind of sings kind of low on the lower register on a more bass voice, and the singing is almost like a little bit talking, like a little bit rapping, and then he goes into a little bit higher and more singing, like when he goes this whoa, whoa, these kind of sounds. So pretty good. So kudos to them, and really thanks to them that they ended on a very, very positive note. So whether we decide that Monster is a little bit better than Sonic Boom, or vice versa, Sonic Boom's a little bit better, which I kind of leaning to think, but they ended on a very, very good note, and I think that these three were able to, if not erase, but at least make forget the fiascos with Crazy Nights and Carnival of Pukes and Dynasty and all of this nonsense. And let's go back to our Australian friends, who I think at this point are already all American or all English. I don't know where they live today. I don't think that they live in Australia anymore. Maybe some of them do. They come out in 2014 with another record. And this is the time where one would question, okay, after Ball Breaker and Stiff Upper Lip and Black Ice, that between the three of them, they were good. It's nice and fun, but there isn't really anything that's so punchy and so convincing and so hard edged to convince you that they really have something new to offer. Had they combined those three into one album, maybe. But this point in their history is a big question mark, and they come out with Rock or Bust, and boy, do they deliver. This is definitely their best album since Razor's Edge. It sounds, there's a little bit of Razor's Edge in it, but not too much. Big sound, big guitars, big drum. Phil Rudd is there, he's present. The bass player Cliff Williams is present, and the songs are good, one after the other. Dogs of War, great songs. Sweet Candy, Rock the House, Play Ball, the opener, Rock or Bust. Like they came up with a good sound that sounds the same as all of their previous album, and yet it's not the same. It has something else to offer. So this is definitely, if you don't want to have the entire series and you want one from the 2000s, this is the one. This is the one. Rock or Bust, as the name implies, absolutely. Baptism by Fire, that's another one. One of them had like a very, very beautiful, very cool guitar. Well, they all have like the pretty cool, typical Angus Young solos. But one of them had like a real memorable one. I forgot right now which one is. Maybe it's Misadventure, but God only knows. But this one is definitely gets a big stamp of approval and a big thumbs up, because they really back to form, and they also kind of went back a little bit to the sound of their earlier records of the 70s. And curiously enough, they did come up with another one after all of the misadventures that they had. Malcolm Young died in in the process. He didn't play already on Rock or Bust, if I'm not mistaken. He wasn't able to play. I think that they put the nephew, Malcolm's son, if I'm not mistaken, instead of Malcolm himself, or is it Angus's son? I don't know. It's someone from that family. But the same bass player and Phil Rudd on the drum, and they absolutely blew this one out of the water. 10 out of 10. Great record. All around, just a real great record. And then a couple of years later, 2020. Wow. I thought it was just now 2022, 2023, maybe 21, but it already came out in 2020. They went out incredibly. They went into the studio after Malcolm died already, and they banged out another one, Power Up. Again, was it really necessary? I don't know. It was definitely ballsy because after Rock or Bust, you should be afraid of being able not just to top it but to come close. But they did manage. I'm not saying Power Up came close, but Power Up definitely doesn't have the problems that Stiff Upper Lip and the one before and one after had, Ball Breaker and Black Ice. So it's not a weakened sound. It's definitely closer and more similar to Rock or Bust. It's not as good, but it's pretty punchy, pretty good, pretty gritty. So it does have something to offer. Not amazing. It's not like each and every song is a banger on it. But again, like I said, you hear them play, you just enjoy it, and then instead of just flipping the same record over and over again, you put up another one. Demon Fire, the title song. Doesn't really have a title song, but the opener, Realize, can be considered as one. Shot in the Dark, not bad. Kick You When You're Down, that was a good one. Code Red is not bad. Maybe that's what's considered the title song in some aspects. But at this point, we've reached the end of both of their histories, and Kiss finally is completely over their final second, completely, totally, incredibly final farewell tour. At least AC/DC never made any kind of such announcements that this is the end and the end of the world tour and the end of the tour and the tour of the end tour, and so on. And interesting thing, I was able to see not live, but some videos of the Gene Simmons band. So the guy is really thirsty. He just likes what he does, you know. Until now, everybody was accusing them of just doing it for the money and the fame and all of that. But now he put together a band with some very, very outstanding musicians. Brian Tichy on drums and I forget the others, but very, very good. And they do a lot of covers. They do Mountain and Leslie West, and he talks to the audience. He explains about the covers that they do and who were the musicians between them. Like he introduces Leslie West to a young audience, and all kind of covers that you wouldn't necessarily expect. They do the Led Zeppelin and the Jimi Hendrix and this kind of things, but they do other things, and they introduce that kind of music to the audience, and they look like they're really enjoying it. And Gene, you know, he doesn't have the makeup, he doesn't have to pander to anyone. He just like supernatural and lets loose with his big fat mouth that he loves to run. So he looks really happy. So I'm happy that both bands ended on a high note, and AC/DC is on tour again, so they look like they're enjoying it. And who knows, maybe they have another album in the bag. God only knows, and God only knows what it's going to sound like. But for the time being, that's what it is. So I'm happy that they were both able to end on a positive note. Ranking the albums. Now, if you remember, when I began, I told you that the original idea was to do it maybe AC/DC versus ZZ Top or Kiss versus Rush. So the ranking of the album, I'll do all four together because I want to kind of tie this little family together. But that, of course, won't happen until next year. So in the meantime, have a happy new year and rock on.